Hello, how's it going, everybody? Also, I just realized I had my sound turned down last stream at the end. I think at some point there was like a car horn or something outside, so I had turned down my volume, and now it was still low, so I forgot to turn it back up. So I think volume was all out of whack last stream, and nobody said anything, so I guess it's okay. But yeah, that was the thing. I blame all of you for not reminding me because it's totally your responsibility to remember these things and not my own. Um, but yeah, is everyone? Hello, Basilisk, Delight, Vana, Skittle, Beer Runner, Sal. Did I get everybody? I think I got everybody. How's everyone? I want more time for drawing and for resting. Now I'm resting. I like it. I don't think you're noticed. Yeah, no worries. I don't think anybody. It probably wasn't too big of a difference. Also, sometimes it's just. I could have also just been closer or talking louder. Sometimes I end up yelling on stream and I don't realize it. So, yeah, that could have been it. If the levels are ever out of whack, let me know. Maybe I'm too loud. I don't know. But compared to the music, not like too loud on your end. If I'm too loud on your end, just turn me down. But if I'm too loud in comparison to the music, then let me know. Because I want that balance right. Yeah. Ideally, I'd be like somewhere in the middle. I wouldn't have to be all the way down on your volume tab, and I wouldn't have to be all the way up on your volume tab. I'd be, somewhere in the middle to give wiggle room for adjustments. Sophie, hello. Long time no see. How are you, Sophie? Should remove the... Whoops. I dinged my cup. Okay. Let's get ready to art. Gotta move some things. Okay. Move that. I got a new phone, but it has like, I don't know the plugin names, but it has a different plugin, and my old phone doesn't have a plugin, and to transfer all the stuff, I have to connect them and to transfer all of the info. There's also an option to do it wirelessly, but I don't know, wasn't working, so I need to get a connector with the proper ends to do the just a new Android phone. Nothing fancy. It's like some model of a phone that came out last year. It's nothing. It's not a. It was a cheapo one, but it was better than my 6-year-old phone. So that's the thing. But anyway, how's everyone doing? Happy Thursday. Hope everyone's doing good too. I am doing well. I'm feeling like today's gonna be a good day. Good art day. This is the painting we did yesterday. And we're gonna do more thumbnails, more arting. Pretty standard. Pretty standard stuff. OMG, I was wondering why Joe wasn't here. Yes, but then I realized the audio sound. Oh, you muted the audio sound. Okay, interesting. Hello, Ellie. How are you? Welcome, welcome. Hope everyone is well and yeah. All right. Also, there are no music subtitles, not subtitles. Oh, speaking of subtitles, I can put the captions up, but there's no music titles today. Unfortunately, for some reason something malfunctioned. Can I inspire you to do a shipwreck-inspired thumbnail? Obviously, I'm not telling you what to do. How dare you tell me what to do? I can do a shipwreck one maybe. I don't know. I've done a few of those before, but yeah, we can do some. Let me first just start by picking random colors and no music titles. Sorry. I'll hopefully fix it by next stream, but I didn't notice it until. Well, how would I notice it until I try to load up stream titles? So yeah, it was a kind of a last minute thing, realizing that it's down. I obviously, I couldn't see a quick, easy fix. So, but yeah, we can do a shipwreck scene today. I'm just gonna start by painting something, some greens, some teals, some blues, maybe some dark colors. I don't know. Click on the CC in the bottom right corner of the video. How do I remove subtitles? Oh yes, you should be able to remove them. Yep. Either by hitting the X or adding subtitles or something. Reezy Peasy, thank you for the follow. How are you, Reezy Peasy? All right, but yeah, we're starting out just like here. I'll give a quick rundown of what we normally do since there's probably somebody who's just coming in for the first time. So normally we start out with a bunch of thumbnails like this, and then we pick one and we work on it till the end of stream. Sometimes we get kind of far, sometimes we don't. This particular stream, we've obviously worked on this one, which ended up basically looking the same. Not a whole lot of change. It was not a very art-heavy day that day, but sometimes they're more extreme. So, for example, this painting. So this was another batch of thumbnails. This is actually the day that we did that thumbnail. So obviously yeah. And this thumbnail is the one we voted on that day, and it turned into this, which is obviously a huge difference. It's almost unrecognizable as the same painting, but that's kind of what we do. A lot of this stuff. So we take sketches that we make on stream, we vote, we pick one, and then we turn it into something. Hopefully something exciting. I don't know. We'll see. And today is no different. Ooh, I have an idea. What if we do like an indoor scene? Hold on. Like this. I'm just gonna draw some lines. Maybe not. Maybe this isn't a good idea. I don't know. Maybe not indoor. I'm not sure. I scratch indoor. I don't know. Might not be indoor. I was just thinking like not a pagoda. What's the word? A trellis? No. The things that like those creeping vines go on, and you have like plants up top. You know those. I don't know what you call them. I should know this. I was in landscape architecture for 4 years. 4.5. I should know what those are called, but anyway. I know the name when I hear it. But yeah, just trying to start out with a color palette, really, is all I'm doing. Just a color palette. Okay, I'm gonna try something. But yeah, I think I can do a shipwreck scene, as per request. Also, if there's any other suggestions for thumbnails, let me know. I can't promise that I'll do all of them, or any of them, but I do like to... have additional ideas. Oops. And I'm going to take a light blue. These can be white. Maybe something like this, kind of little gardeny area, something. I want some shapes in the back, though, that cross in front. I don't know, something like that, maybe? We don't really have any light source, but it's okay. Ooh, indoors, ooh, outdoors? Yeah, I'm not sure what it is. Indoor or outdoor? Outdoor, but maybe kind of indoor. And maybe this is there. I don't normally use just the straight line tool. It's a little silly, but I think for blocking in shapes, it's not bad. Anyway, there's something. Not something very good, but something. Maybe there's some plants hanging down. This feels like a nighttime scene. What if we put some bright colors in it, like some bright greens? Thanks for the hydrate, Redeem. I'm gonna try and actually properly hydrate today. Like I said, I'm doing a sketch event and having so much fun seeing everyone's ideas. I want to see more. Oh wait, so is Shipwreck your sketch event idea? Is that the idea? I'll be honest. I think on Saturday. Wait, you streamed on Saturday, right, Basilisk? I think I was there. Yeah, that was you were doing the Rhino on Saturday, right? So is today? I do have my tea. I'm drinking it right now. Sunday. Wait, did I say Saturday? Oh wait, no, I meant Tuesday. Wait, you didn't stream on Tuesday? I feel like I saw you on Tuesday. Are you sure I didn't see you stream on Tuesday? Whenever it was, I did. Okay. Yeah, I feel like I saw a rhino on Tuesday. I don't remember when I did anything. All right. Chimera, how are you? Or Chimera. Chimera. Probably just Chimera, right? Spelled differently. Hey, Kath. Oh, gosh, I still need to fix the Santa emotes. Okay. Well, I kind of like the glowy, yep. Glowy stuff. Maybe we'll have a mixture of yellow and white plants. It's brokey. No, music titles is broken. Yeah. Sorry, Kath. Can't watch the stream without titles. Oh no. You can't watch. You need the music titles, huh? Oh no. Well, no. Yeah, I don't. I can't really do anything about it right now. I'd have to go and research a new program or try to fix it. I tried to look to see if anyone else had the same problem, but the way that I was doing it, I think, is a little out of date, and so there wasn't any current things. I think I just have to somehow like re-enter my sign-in credentials, but I'm not sure where to do it. It just gives me an error saying it can't sign in. So I probably have to go into like the config file and goof around with stuff and see or some. I don't know. I'm not actually sure what went wrong, but it's not signing me in, which is normally it grabs stuff from my Spotify account, which is also not technically supposed to be a thing that I stream with. But anyway, no one heard a thing. This is totally a private thing, not online for the world to know. Virus, definitely. No, not a virus. Not a virus. I think it's just maybe Spotify updated something. Maybe this program updated something that made it so that it can't authenticate my Spotify sign in. I don't know. Something happened, but I'm not too worried about it. But it does suck. So today we won't have it. Maybe something like that. I don't know. There's a little outdoorsy area. Joe's been hacked. I haven't been hacked. Oh, quit it. You have not been hacked. It just didn't sign in. That's all. It's And well, I will say the first time it didn't sign in, it gave me a really weird message that I've never seen. Um, and so I tried to sign in. So I signed in manually, and then it didn't work. So I might have actually entered in the wrong password. And so maybe I literally should have the first thing I should have tried was to turn it off and on. And I didn't, and because I didn't, and I went to something else, which was to try to re-enter my password, I may have ended up trying to now have it sign in with the wrong password, as opposed to just restarting it the first time. So I may have actually goofed it up. I've been replaced by an AI. What? No, I haven't. Wake up, people. I mean, one of these days I'm just gonna have the AI stream for me because I've been training it for 3 years on my stream. I feel like an AI could probably do a pretty good job of what I do. I'll be honest. I don't think an AI would struggle. Ooh, I know. Okay, I want to do like some sort of not post-apocalyptic, just just an apocalypse scene. I want to go really, really bright red. I think it was Illustrator, right? He had a really, really beautiful orangey red scene that just used these super saturated colors, and I thought it was so cool. I mean, I still think it's so cool. I mean, it wasn't entirely saturated, which is what made it look so neat. But there's a certain look to painting these really just extremely bright red scenes. I don't know how to do it, or scenes that are extremely bright. And it's not so much that I don't know how to do it, it's that whenever I try it, I goof things up. It just takes me a while. I think a good balance of grays is the key, though. That seems to be the thing. You gotta have a good balance of grays. And a good color and saturation variety. You don't just want one color, you want a variety. I don't know. It's something that I do struggle with. AI may be able to generate images, but it can't put it in real time for 4 hours straight. Not yet. Not yet. But AI wouldn't be able to entertain us as well. I mean, I don't know. AI might be able to do a better job at entertaining. Are you kidding me? I feel like an AI could be told ahead of time to make jokes, and I don't know. I think the AI can tell jokes probably better than I can. I'm not a very funny. See, I don't think I'm a very. Well, I guess there's other ways to entertain than be funny, but I don't think I'm a very funny person. And if we're talking about like educational, oh, the AI definitely has more knowledge than me. It could definitely be more educational. I don't know. I don't think I have anything on the AI. I'm beginning to think I am just inferior to the AI in every way. It can make, well, maybe, I don't know. I still think I highlighted because important. Your art is very you. Your art is moody, dreamy, and has a touch of Joe. That in AI doesn't do the same anyway. Oh yeah, no, I know that. I'm joking, obviously, but Vanna, thank you so much for the 2 months, for the sub. Thank you very much. Finally, you can use my Prime sub. Aw, well, thank you so much for the resub. It really means a lot. Very generous. I appreciate it. Thank you. And yeah, Basilisk, I'm joking when I say that I don't have anything on the AI. But I mean, there is an element, like, if I'm just painting something without a theme, I mean, even if I'm painting something with a theme, no, I mean, the AI obviously has things that humans don't have. Or, sorry, humans have things that the AI doesn't have. But I don't think I would ever get in a negative space. Like, I don't know. I don't think. How do I describe it? It doesn't upset me that what the AI does. I don't know. It doesn't bother me at all. I don't. Yeah. It's not even a thought really that I mean, actually, no. I have thought about it a lot, and I've come to the conclusion that it truly does not matter. Yeah. I think some people, though, would be depressed, maybe, to know that they've been learning art for a long time and the AI is good. But see, I feel like that's not really what... Like, to me, the technical skill, which the AI can do a pretty good job of, that is kind of the entry level. Like, that's the bare basics. It's all the other stuff. If I guess if you think of like art directing, right, as a skill, right? I'm the art director of my own art, right? That is the skill the AI doesn't do, right? I mean, yes, it spits out a final, but there's a thought process of making decisions saying, would this be better? Right? The AI doesn't ask, would this be better? And if it does, it's asking it to you when you still have to decide, right? It doesn't really know how to say, would this character look cooler? Would it make more sense for this character to have a cowboy hat or a wizard hat, right? Like, what sort of theme do I want? Or if I'm going to do a second painting of this, what do I want this first? Like, there's a history and a future involved, right? Like, for example, I haven't painted a red painting lately, so let's make something red. The AI doesn't think of that, right? It's not going to decide what to paint. And I think that aspect of it is, I like that, right? That's what makes, those are the human choices that, over a long period of time, you come out the other side being much more you than the AI. So I don't know. The AI stuff doesn't bother me at all. I've seen a lot of posts on the Artist Lounge subreddit where there are people who are genuinely like, I don't know what to do. I feel like I've been practicing for this thing and wasting my life, or wasting my time, and it just kind of bugs me, I guess, that people are letting it get to them and they're dwelling on this thing. And I don't know, maybe it's just because I like thinking about sort of the underlying reasons why I do stuff. I enjoy thinking about that. I don't know, and maybe some people don't like that, and when they do start to self-evaluate, they don't have good answers, and I don't know. I genuinely don't know, but it's sad, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. I don't really let it get to me, but I know other people do because I've seen a lot of people let it get to them. Or like if their art's not turning out the way that they want, right? That really gets to them. And I understand it, but to me, there is a lot of stuff that isn't just visual about art. And I don't mean this in like some weird artsy fartsy way of like, oh, it's some deeper meaning. I don't even mean that. I just mean I guess probably the best analogy would be like there's a video I watched about an architect. And I'll admit I kind of rolled my eyes at it at the time, and I kind of still do. But the guy was very pretentious, and he was like, it really doesn't matter what the end is. It matters that you take them on the journey to get there. And if you can convince them that your design is good, that's all that's important. And it kind of felt like this guy was admitting to be a fraud, right? It sounded like this guy in this video was saying, it doesn't matter if I don't know how to do my job, as long as I can convince them that I do. And at the time I was like, oh my god, this guy, I can't even stand him. But the more that I think about it, like that taking them on the journey, I think that is important, right? That's why did you make the choice? Oh, I made the choice because of this, right? You're adding the human element to it. And I think it is more important. The more, especially now the AI is out, and the more that I have to understand why I do the things I do, I do like the idea that it doesn't matter if it's perfect, as long as you can justify the choices you made, and then you get better at making the justification. I mean, okay, there's a chess analogy that goes with this. During PogChamps, one of the things, which was a chess tournament for streamers, but they were all coached by professionals, some very, very, very good players. And pretty much all of them had sort of the same rule is they were saying, I don't care if you make good moves, just decide on why you're making a move, right? Have a plan. That was more important because eventually your solutions to your plan are going to get better and your plan's going to get better. But getting used to having a plan is important. And I think that's really important in some things. Hey, Fish, how are you? And I kind of feel like even with art, that's kind of important because if your only goal is to make a pretty picture, or if your only goal is to make a good chess move, the computer's gonna have you beat. But I think there's just so much more to it than that, right? Like good design, for example. And what makes good design? Well, maybe it fits the character, right? Maybe it is setting up a potential problem down the road, right? Maybe you want intentionally design your character poorly so that something goes wrong, right? Or maybe you want to design an environment that fits the character, or maybe you want to design an environment that does not fit the character, right? Doesn't that? I feel like that has a lot. Like I don't know. That to me is more important than oh, it looks pretty. I don't know. I'm all right. How about you? I'm doing well. There's also a saying in classical music where Beethoven supposedly said, playing a wrong note is insignificant, playing without passion is inexcusable. I feel like that's profound. I'm not sure why. I kind of thought you were joking because I've heard you talk about it before, but a lot of people are feeling pretty down about it, so I want to be sure. Yeah, yeah. I think it is a topic that I think gets a lot of people down, and I don't get that at all. I mean, I kind of do, but at the same time, I don't. I think it's very. I don't know. It's weird. A good plan removes the notion of waiting for chance to come to you. I feel like all these things sound really profound if you take them out of context. I'm not even entirely sure. AI can't give me the good chemical in my brain when I'm doing the art. True, exactly, right? Doing the art makes you feel good. Yeah, there's that. The real threat is people who are having their work uh, imitated and sold for. Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, that is a huge issue. Yeah, and there's a lot of lawsuits going on right now in that area, which is cool. I'm glad, and I think. Yeah. So that aspect of it, it is both scary and good, and there's good stuff happening, and I think those are the real problems, and they're being, people are actively fighting on behalf of artists as we speak. Artists are outspoken about it, and it's the copyright issues are important. But I think like the existential threat or existential crisis aspect of it, I think is people. I don't. Again, it's hard for me to say it. It's like you just need to suck it up. I don't know. That's not a good thing to say, right? And I don't really believe that. But I think the those types of issues with art, like oh, it's so good and I'm not, or something. I don't think that is an issue, right? I think it truly does not matter. And I think if it does matter to you too much, either you need to do some soul searching and maybe art is not if the only reason is to make a pretty picture, well, maybe there's other ways and quicker ways to do it, right? And maybe you could learn to be satisfied with using AI, right? And I don't know, that would be a hard thing for me to tell someone. I don't know. I guess it feels a bit like when people who want to. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's weird. Anyway, Joe, I like this thread. It feels mysterious and a bit dangerous. Interesting. So, having something else pressuring out of the field is just adding that. Yeah, no, I get. I think the problem for a lot of people is that a lot of artists are torn down emotionally as it is just by being artists. Yeah, but I feel like it's not even a real pressure. I mean, I don't know. It's like a what's that? I mean, there's a saying that I've said a lot, but it's if you can do something about it, then do something about it, and if you can't, then what's the use in worrying? It's kind of like the don't worry about stuff you can't control. And if it's still something that you want to worry about, then make sure it's something you can take action on. Otherwise, you're literally just worrying about some random crap out of your control. And I don't know. There's an element of that to it. Um, but it's not even that. Even with that, it's not. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like the threat. Anyway, I want something that comes in front of this little area in here, like a focal point, or that comes in front of the focal point. But yeah, it's something, that's for sure. Okay, so what is this space? I'm drawing something. Professional warrior. Yeah, I mean, it's just there's other stuff to worry about, right? Like, I mean, again, it's not saying that the issues aren't real. It's just more of like you could be focusing that time and energy on literally, I don't know, getting better to the point where it's no longer an issue. So, I mean, obviously, let's just take an artist who is, you know, at the top of their game, right? The ones that the AI wants to replicate. Let's say that, you know, the Ruanjias or the I don't know, there's a lot of them, right? But a lot of those artists that people aspire to be as good as, right? Those people, whoever they might be, right? Maybe they're going to be different for you than for me. But I don't think those people. Hey, Sushi Cat, how are you? But like, I don't think those people are worried about. Oh my gosh, the AI is doing such good art. No, they're like, dude, this AI stuff is like, dang, it's probably pretty good. It's stealing my stuff, right? Everyone is that much closer to being where I am, and they're stealing my work, right? That's not okay. People shouldn't be stealing their work, or at least using their work. Yeah, stealing their work to train models or whatever, right? Like that shouldn't be okay. But they're probably not feeling threatened as like a. I mean, maybe they are. Maybe some of them they feel their jobs are threatened. But for the most part, I don't think those people are going to be feeling like, wow, this work is better than me. No, like they know they're pretty dang good, and the work is never going to get better than the best people out there, right? Like it's trained on the best people out there. So I don't think those people are going to be like, oh dang, you know, I got to watch my back. Like maybe a little bit, but I don't think that's a real threat for them, right? They're probably more concerned about the other stuff. But really, thank you for the question, Joe. How are you doing? I'm doing well. I am doing well. Day is going good so far. Yeah, that's it. I know I'm a great conversationalist. Also, what do I want to do with this painting? I don't know. We can maybe figure out what we want to paint this later. I'm just trying to find some interesting color palettes. But yeah, I'm doing well. I would like to. So there's been a few things I've been thinking about. I don't know, lots of stuff with art and where I want to go with it and what I want to do. Like for some reason I can't recall those thoughts that I had, but yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that I want to do, and yeah. So I don't know. I have been having fun with art lately. I've been really excited about like even this painting has been a lot of fun. Oh, also okay, studying. That's what I want to talk about. I want to. So I started listening to a new podcast. I made a Twitter post about it, but I started listening to a new podcast lately. It's a geology related podcast, and it's really fascinating. I will say that was always one of the most boring subjects for me. Is like, oh, who wants to learn about rocks, you know? And obviously, it's a lot. Geology is a lot more than that. It's literally like everything Earth related, right? Minus like humans and minus maybe plants, I guess. Even though plants play a huge, you know, they play a huge role in the Earth affects plants. So like they're super closely related. But anyway, geology was never like a super exciting subject. But I will say in the first two episodes, well, technically the first three because the first one's like an introductory thing, but the first two episodes they basically it's essentially the history of the Earth because everything moves in such a slow timeline, obviously, and there's like it's sort of like there's a lot of storytelling, and it sort of struck me in this because I never thought geology was like super storytelly. But this podcast, they do a really good job of telling stories. And it's honestly an absolutely fascinating podcast. Like, for example, one of them, they were just, I mean, it was just like a tiny little section in the podcast, but they were explaining how tectonic plates affect, uh like, or how, like, the they I don't know the names, but you know how you have like the crust and the mantle, and you have the part on top that is moving essentially, or like it's more, they explained it, that's more like flexible, and the part underneath it is more rigid, which are like the tectonic plates, and then you have like a softer thing underneath that things they kind of float on. So you have these rigid bodies kind of moving slowly. And they explained how, like, Hawaii, because it's moving, when you have this spot where all the, the magma and stuff comes up, and it makes these little islands, over time these islands are essentially moving, and they create like little stripes, right? Like they create like little, like clusters, right? Because you have this, like, if stuff is moving this direction, right? You have, what once was, this might have been the first one. Like if here is the hot spot, right, in red, right? All these things at one point have moved over top of it. Anyway. Right. Okay. So they explained stuff like that, but then they compared it to a place, essentially the similar situation, but on Mars, where it doesn't have tectonic plates, and where you have essentially all of this stuff bubbling up, right, coming up and making a mountain. Right, here's a mountain, lava. This doesn't really go like that, but you get the idea. And the lava is coating it, but because this top surface isn't moving. But because this top surface isn't moving, instead of getting, like, where I just drew it on Hawaii, right, you get islands, right? You get these little things because these are moving, right? So this stuff bubbles up. Oops, I'm not explaining it very well, right? This stuff bubbles up, and it, it cools, and then it moves, right? And then it moves on to the next. And in time, right, these will all shift over here, and maybe you'll get a little more, right? And so you get these these little things, right? But on Mars you don't get that. So this mountain stays put, and it keeps getting taller and taller and taller, and which is why you have the tallest mountain in the world, well, not in the world, but that we know of, is on Mars, right? Or whatever it's called. Is it Mount Olympus or whatever? So that's why there's taller mountains on Mars, because they don't have that moving top part. Like there's nothing moving, right? And so you just have stuff coming up. Anyway, so that's what, and to draw that comparison between Hawaii, which has these little areas, like little puddles of land from all the volcanic eruptions, to Mars, which is just a pile of... Anyway, I thought it was fast. It's like... And they told it so much better than I just did. They explained it very, very well. The tallest mountain on the world is in Mars. That's not what I said, or I caught myself if that's what I said. It was that's not what I meant. I wasn't joking. I just misspoke. But anyway. Anyway, that was a really cool comparison, I thought. And they told it extremely well. And it was fascinating. Like, holy crap, I never thought about that. What is the podcast name? It's called Planet Geocast. I think it's called... I don't know, I tweeted at them. Hold on, let me check Twitter. Anyway, it's fascinating. I'm only on episode, like, 5. It is Planet Geocast, yeah. Or Planet Geo. It's really, really good. And then they told other stories of, like, what else did they tell? Oh gosh, there's a couple. And they just explain how stuff works and why it happens, and I think they get into a lot more. They only start extremely basic. Like it's basically a geology podcast for people who don't know anything about geology. Like, it's not super in depth, but they get there. And I looked at episode like 200 or something, or whatever they were on, and they were talking about stuff that I genuinely had no idea about. But anyway, they start really basic, and they just tell cool stories, and they'll explain how... Oh, another one, right? And they explained just simple stuff like, why is the ocean salty? And how they gave like the obvious answer, which is, oh, there's a lot of, these salty rocks in the ocean, and that would make the water salty. And the real answer is actually backwards, right? The rocks are salty because the oceans are salt, or the mineral deposits that are made of salt, or essentially, only exist because of the ocean is salty, and it's actually the fresh river water that is feeding the salt to the ocean, right? It's just too small to detect, and well, it's not too small to detect. It's in there, but it's just over time you have the water evaporating, and then they were basically drawing comparisons. Well, what about freshwater lakes, right? Why aren't those salty? And they're like, well, because they have an output, right? They like they explain all this stuff, but in very simple story form, right? And not really. They just tell good. Salt water makes rock salt. Well, it's when there's too much of whatever minerals in the water, and they essentially have to shed them, and so it creates these little deposits, whether it's lime or calcium or whatever. Anyway, I thought it was really fascinating, and you learn, like, what about saltwater lakes? So saltwater lakes are because they don't often. So typically saltwater lakes. Here, let me draw it. So here's a lake. So if it's a saltwater lake, it probably does not have a river going out of it, right? It probably has a river feeding into it, and then everything else evaporates. And so you have new minerals and stuff coming in, and water evaporating, right? So you have stuff evaporating. But a lot of lakes will eventually make their way to a river, or they have something to take water out. And that's typically the case. Also, there's a lot of lakes, like the Great Lakes in the U.S., which I don't know if they have an output, but they're so recent, they haven't had time to become salty. So it just depends on if there's something to take the water out. Yeah, that one. Planet Geo. Exactly. Thank you, Vana. So anyway, that was a really good podcast, and I've been fascinated by it. And it doesn't really relate to art, but there's a few things, like just learning about types of... I mean, again, I don't know. I'm not that far in. I've only listened to like 5 episodes. But anyway, it's not directly related to art. But if you're at all interested in sort of... Like, there's gonna be things that I'm sure will be applicable to drawing environments, right? To make things a little bit more accurate or more consistent. For example, if you were gonna, say, design like a world and you wanted a great salt lake, right? Something that's very, very salty, that's for whatever reason in your story, don't put rivers going out of it, right? I don't know, because that's not... You wouldn't see that, probably. Because if you're having fresh water flow in and salt water flow out, eventually it's just all going to be fresh water, right? Like, at some point, it's going to be diluted and it'll flow out. That's the point. And the reason the ocean is salty is because there's no there's nothing flowing out of oceans, right? Ocean is the end point, right? That's, I mean, almost by definition, right? It's the low point. Water flows downhill. Oceans are that downhill. They're the low point. Anyway, don't miss the 5-minute thumbnail. All right, I will do that right now. But yeah, so anyway, that was a really fascinating podcast. I do recommend it. It's geography, but they made it really fun. And I can't, I don't fully endorse it because I don't know, I haven't listened to all of it. So for all I know, it could get really bad. But no, it seems really good so far. Although my only gripe is that the two people, they sound the same, which sucks. I can never tell who's talking. I'm not good at identifying their voices yet. Anyway, let me do the 5-minute thumbnail. Let me bring that back up, which is honestly the worst part of the whole podcast so far. I think I'll get used to them, but right now they sound very similar. Yeah, the first episode, they don't really... It's very basic. It's mostly just an introduction. But I recommend it. Or, I don't know, I think I do. I have a lot of time on my hands at work, so I listen to a lot of podcasts. Yeah, it is. Well, and it's fascinating because they tell it from like a geological perspective. Like there's a big time frame, right? And they know that, and it's intuitive to them. And so they explain it sort of in a it feels like a story, right? It's not just this is how things are and this is what this is called. I used to listen to a podcast, Stuff You Should Know, because of that. Okay, interesting. I think I've listened to that podcast before. All right, let me start the timer and do a quick 5-minute thumbnail. Also, I should stop slouching. I'm getting way too comfortable. Well, it's storytelling. It's sort of like history is a story, but a lot of people you tell like when you were in school, you probably had at least one history class where where you felt like it was more about dates, or you felt like it was more about these random events in time, and you didn't really get the sense of the story, right? Like you could retell, say, if you were a Lord of the Rings, not Lord, yeah, sure, Lord of the Rings. You could probably retell Lord of the Rings as a story, right? And if that were history, right? I don't think I know any historical event well enough to tell it as a story. Like I really don't. It's always been a subject that felt extremely dry to me. And if they tell it in a story, right, with conflict and main characters who you care about, and they don't just start name dropping all the time, and they introduce these characters as opposed to, here is this person and dates and time, I hated that stuff. I hated the info dumping that happened in history class, and I could never keep track of everything, and I never had a good framework to attach things to. And for that reason, I never really liked history. It's honestly because of the way it was taught, I think. Not to say that I don't like history. Yeah, it's. I just don't like all the info dumping. Like if they tell it as a story, which it has story in its name, history would be fantastic, right? I mean, it's real events. There's really fascinating stuff. Give me little bite-sized stories, but give me like a big framework to attach it to, right? That's kind of what I want. Like, I want teach me this, right? And then that, and then that, and then that, and then this, and pretty soon I have this giant framework. Now if I hear a date, I can be, oh yeah, that happened right here, because I know this story, right? Oh yeah, this other thing that happened, well, that happened between these two stories, right? That, or this, and like once you start getting a framework, I feel like you could, it's almost like a scaffolding. And, oh, you want a window? Okay, well, you just put the window there because you already have the framework of the house, right? Oh, you want a door? Well, we already have the framework. We can just put the door there, right? But all these things on their own are just going to fall and be all a jumbled pile of stuff. And it's, anyway, so I like that having a framework or a good story. And that's kind of what they do with geology, right? Which is kind of the history of the planet to some degree, right? A lot of it's trying to understand what happened, right? So it's understanding the story, essentially, right? There's a story there. They just don't always know what it is because maybe it's too far underground and there's stuff happening and they don't really know, or it's so old and lost to weather and time that you kind of have to reconstruct things. And so a lot of it is sort of this, coming up with their stories or theories or whatever, and then you test them. So anyway, it really is a cool thing. So I'm glad that I stumbled on it. Okay, I'm gonna start my 5-minute thumbnail sketch. Sorry for the yapping without painting. I'm gonna start just by putting colors in places. Man, I barely remember my own birthday. I even told you guys recently I don't know how old I am. No, I didn't say that. I said I think I'm 34, but I might have been 33. I am 34. But that was a thing that I've said. The yapping is great. Yeah, but I want to be painting. So maybe what I'll do, there's also these really cool pictures of potassium deposits. that are these bright yellow and orangey yellow things. Again, because of the geology podcast, not because of the podcast specifically. But anyway, maybe I'll paint something with these like weird yellow color things. But of course, it wouldn't do just with that. I gotta add in, you know, some fantasy vibes. So maybe there's like some mountains or temples here, but there's these old. I don't know. Just trying to put in some fun colors. Some blues and yellows. Maybe there's some teals. I don't know. Potassium deposit. I mean, that's not necessarily what I'm painting. How are you doing, Observer? I'm basically just painting some random shapes and colors. But maybe we'll do, I don't know, I kind of want to do something hanging over. But anyway, I think what I do want to do is do like specific rock studies or something at some point. That would be fun, of different types of rocks, and try to make it kind of realistic and understand. Kind of like Clint Kearley is doing with metals. You know, he's like doing an iron one, and he does a crystal one at some point, and he does, I know that's not a metal, he'll do like a bronze and various materials for like armor, and he'll paint his armor and certain things. But I think it'd be fun to do just different rock studies. Different types of rocks, and understand maybe why they can't come about. So that's been something that again, mostly it's because I've listened to this podcast and it's gotten me interested in it. But also just because it is relevant, and I think it was somebody last stream, right, mentioned, like, I was talking about how art makes me interested in stuff, and someone basically called me out and be like, so do you know much about environments? And I was like, you know, I know a little bit, and I know a bit about painting in general, like, right, anything from, you know, light and that kind of thing. So a bit of physics. But yeah, no, I mean, there is a lot I don't know about, you know, I paint a lot of rocks and trees, and I know a bit about trees, right? I have like almost a minor degree in horticulture, but no, I mean, I don't know that much about rocks and stuff, and I would like to know more. So oh, you're the reason why Instagram probably Rona too. I think Rona's a big Clint Kearley fan as well. So what am I doing? This does not feel like a good environment. It doesn't have any. Understanding erosion is an interesting knowledge that takes a long time of awareness to observe. Yeah, exactly. And that was, yeah, that's another thing. And in the podcast, funny enough, they were actually talking about, like, sometimes they'll just sit at a place where they don't really understand why things look the way they do, and they basically say, and they'll just think about it, and they'll just sit there for a long time and just try to understand what could have possibly happened, and sort of being a little bit of a detective. And sometimes just by spending time there, they can eventually piece together why something would have probably happened. And then, of course, you can go out and do tests or something. But, like, a lot of it is... Also, this is... Sorry about the lack of this thumbnail. This thumbnail is... Let's add some dark... Okay. I don't have any bright shapes in here. I apologize that the countdown is done, but I'm still going to work on this real quick. I realize I'm making these very, very jagged, but that's okay. I just wanted to lighten up the background here, so that we can actually see these structures. feel like something like this kind of sucks to draw if I don't have a good light source, and I don't have a good light source right now. But anyway, there's something. So there's a quick thumbnail. Maybe we can vote on that. I've watched a lot of different materials decay in the sun. Yeah, that's cool. That is cool. But yeah, you should also be painting. And it's so hard to paint and talk at the same time. I'm not complaining, like, because that's kind of what I signed up for. But it is a little bit hard because you're trying to make decisions and think through things, and yeah, it's a bit tough. But I do want to. I'll get better at it. I just gotta get good. Is the short answer. But yeah, it is gonna be. I keep on making new goals for myself. I don't know if it's because it's still the first month of the year or what, but I've there's so many things I want to do, and I think one of them is get really good at depicting realistic rocks, and which my Twitter post sort of hinted at that, which is what are things that people don't or get wrong in art a lot, and a lot of it's just making things too uniform. Rocks people always paint rocks super flat or just not interesting enough, or they paint rocks that can't exist in certain environments, or they shouldn't exist there, or they make things look man-made when they're not supposed to be, or maybe vice versa. So I don't know. It's kind of that sort of thing I've been thinking about. Are you ready to rock? Number 2 reminds me of some place in Africa. I don't know. Somehow it makes me think of the Lion King. I mean, we could always go. Pride Rock. Isn't that what Pride Rock looks like? Is that what it looks like? Something like that? I don't know if that's quite what it looks like, but, close enough. I think it's flatter, actually, on top. Yeah, there we go. Pride Rock. Perfect. Oh god, don't get me started on Lion King. I was, crucified last stream for my conversation on Lion King. And in Discord. Rip Pride Rock? Yeah. Y'all were against me on the Lion King thing. Sorry about that. What? I missed the Lion King combo? In short, the summary is I said I am not a big fan of the scenes, or there's just a few scenes in the Lion King, not even specific ones that I have in mind. But as a kid, I kind of got bored during the Lion King a lot. And it wasn't really my favorite movie, and I thought Scar was not my favorite. I didn't really like his scenes. I didn't really like his songs, and yeah, I wasn't a huge Scar fan, but people didn't like that. Just stop. Well, I said it again. Are you flaming? I am flaming you as well for this opinion. I didn't say I disliked the movie or anything. You guys are saying are acting like I don't know, did something despicable. Like I don't know, murdered someone or something. You said I did not say I hated it. I've never said that. I did not say that. That is so untrue. This is like the... Have you watched it as an adult? I haven't. I said it was the worst movie ever. What? What is this? You're making up stories, telling tall tales. Cancel Joe. Yeah. Well, if this is how we're starting out January, just give it a couple months. But something different than OMFG, great movie, wow, is pretty much the same. Oh yeah, it's basically the same as saying I just I didn't like it. It's terrible. They should have not. They should have never made it. It's basically like saying that, right?